day of hiking to the peak of Ethiopia, and I was so tired and hungry that I was ready to eat Khadija.
Yes, there was this part you said, we had our luxurious breakfast and it was a bread and a tea.
The way that we do things in the West, in our like capitalist, like modern world, like not everything is right.
After your experience in Sudan, like weren't you guys, you know what, I'm done. I had a good time traveling so far, but now I just need to have a settled life.
We met in Sudan. Then when the war broke out, we like fled together.
Because I didn't try it. But once I tried, I feel like, oh, this
was what I was looking for.
Yeah. Kilometers to trek before we find food again.
This uphill now is killing me. Yeah.
After this.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, how are you all doing? This is My Africa Show and I am your producer and host, Agabelai. So today I'll be staying with two most energetic and amazing young ladies. Welcome first.
Thank you.
I would love to thank you guys for coming all the way here and giving me your time to spend probably a very wild conversation, I could say. So let's start with you guys introducing yourself, who you are and where you're from to our audiences.
I'm Lakshmi. I'm an Indian American, born and raised around Boston, and I'm a traveler and content creator and software engineer, and I've been hitchhiking around Ethiopia with my friend over here, and it's been an adventure.
Yes, I am Khadija. I'm from Egypt. Now I'm doing this trip from Egypt until South Africa, hitchhiking, and we're traveling now together in Ethiopia. Yeah.
Okay, so you're from Egypt. She's half Indian, half American. So it's like pretty diverse, right?
Yeah.
So we will go to how you guys met, but before I want to ask you guys how you guys started traveling.
Basically, I'm from Egypt. It's not that open country for what I'm doing. I'm so unusual in my country. Yeah, this is true. And I actually started traveling 2 years ago from Ethiopia. I started in Ethiopia. So I have been trying with my family for a long time because families in Egypt, they are not open for this kind of life. Yeah, of lifestyle. So after long journey with my family, one of my friends, she was coming last year to one of her friends here in Ethiopia, and she said, "Come with me." I said, "Okay."
You said okay. She asked and you said okay.
Yeah,
I love it. Okay.
Yeah, and I stayed 2 months, and then when I come here, I felt like, okay, I want to do this more. But
really, what made you say that?
I don't know, it's just a feeling. You feel like this is what you're trying to do and this is what it meant to be. And I stayed 2 months. I come with 1 month and I extended 2 months because I wanted to see more. And I found it also, Ethiopia is so big. so big. So I said, okay, I will come back again. And I just wanted to do Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. And I said, okay, I will do trip from Egypt to Tanzania. And then I don't know where it becomes that much. And I said, okay, to South Africa. I'm gonna start it. Yes. So I decided to stay 1 year in my home in Egypt to plan. And then I started this year in January.
Okay, so it was basically your friend's idea.
Yeah. You know, this idea, you have it a lot, but when you grow up and you are in the first 20s, you have two roads. Even you're gonna get your apartment and your car, and you're gonna spend this on traveling. And this was my dilemma. Like, what should I do now? I was stuck in this point. And then when she said, okay, let's go, and you started, you can't go back. Yeah. When you start, you know, if I didn't go to Ethiopia, maybe I was now in Egypt trying to settle and do things in my life because I didn't try it. Yeah. But once I tried, I feel like, oh, this was
what I was looking for.
Yes.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, growing up, I never traveled. Like, I never left this like few-hour radius from my house. And then when I was 17, I went on my first trip. It was my freshman year of college summer, and I went to Ghana.
Excuse me. So let me get this straight. Out of all those places, you chose Ghana.
Yeah,
I love Ghana, by the way.
Yeah, I love it too. I didn't know I would love it. A friend of mine also, we decided together, still to this day, we can't figure out like how we ended up picking Ghana, but we did. And I think it probably came down to cheap flights, because that's usually how my
How you
travel
guys
decisions have like come to be. But yeah, I wanted to go somewhere just like completely different and out of my comfort zone, and ended up in Ghana. It was my first time on a plane. After that, we did do this like short Euro trip. We were in Ghana for like 5-6 weeks, and I loved it.
That's like a month and...
Yeah, like month and a half, and I loved it. Actually, we went to Paris, and we're like, this is boring. Like, take us back to Ghana.
What made it boring? Like, what made you choose Ghana? Like, what made you say like Ghana is more fun than Paris?
Everything was so different and new, and like, I liked the spontaneity of it.
Oh, okay.
Like, I mean, there is this like, okay, things don't like work as well, which was like interesting for us, versus like going to Paris, like, okay, it's pretty, it's nice, we had some like nice macaroons and stuff, but like I wanted to go back to Ghana where it was like more of an adventure, and it felt like a totally different world. And I think this is like the travel bug that you get, where you know, there's like nothing that really compares to like when you're in like a completely new place with like new food, new smells, new people, new language, like new everything. Yeah. Sometimes it can be like overwhelming, but I kind of like loved that.
Yeah.
So
you just love something different, I guess.
Yeah. And I liked the challenge of it.
Yeah. May I ask, like, what was the picture that you have about Ghana before visiting, and what was the reality that you faced?
Yeah, I mean, my view was definitely very like one-dimensional. Like I think what you see in the media about like sub-Saharan Africa is just like, it's mostly poverty that you see. And so like I didn't know anything about like the culture, what the people are like, and what the food is like, and just like it's there's a lot of people like living their lives like the same way that we are too. Like yes, there's more poverty and stuff, but like that doesn't mean that like there isn't a lot to like see, and that there isn't like people there that have like valuable perspectives. And it was like super interesting. So, like it took me out of this like idea that, oh, the way that we do things in the West, in our like capitalist like modern world, like not everything is right. Yeah. You know? And so yeah, just like a whole new perspective on like everything. Yes, and definitely. it was like really good. It's really good.
So I mean, for sure, this is going to be one of the questions that my audience will have. Like when you travel to new places, you have no idea, like you don't know the streets, you don't know anyone there, especially like if you're traveling to totally new country. So from where do you start?
I mean, what I've like learned is that a lot of kind people around, and so when you show up in places and you look like lost or confused, people are gonna help. Like
so your faith is on people, definitely.
I mean, technology is here too. Like I use the internet, but you know, when I first started traveling, like. No, it wasn't so easy to like get a SIM card, and actually like I didn't have my phone all the time. I didn't have a smartphone all the time, and so I don't know how I did it back then, because like now I definitely do rely on internet, like Google Maps for everything. But yeah, you gotta like talk to people. I think I grew up with this idea of like don't talk to strangers, you know, and when you travel you have to, and you realize like okay, most of the world is like kind.
Yeah.
How about you though? How about you?
This is actually also from Egypt, that it's rare to find this. I have one of my friends, his parent did this trip 20 years ago.
20 years ago?
Yes. So you're talking about, it's not invention. Yeah. The people survived. we're not the first people in the world who are trying to do this. Yeah. This is the thing. Also, we have friends now in Kenya. We have friends now in Djibouti. So they can tell us what's going on, what's happening. And yeah, what we're doing is so crazy and it's so unusual, I know, but I think it's, as she said, internet is there, and also we are like kind of group. We know all what's happening, what's gonna happen in the next country. I mean, this is so easier more than 20 years ago. Oh, yeah.
when you travel to new places, especially when we think about the concept of traveling, including myself, by the way, we feel like we need to have a large amount of budget. And we need, like, it's costly, and we can't do it in a, you know, in a minimum way. And we need expensive cameras to capture those moments. And it's just like we have such kind of image when it comes to traveling. We see it as a very luxurious kind of thing. So, as a traveler, what do you say about this? Like, do we actually need to have a large amount of budget, or is it okay to travel? Because I've seen your videos, and you'll be like, we have our noodles, instant noodles here, and there was this part you said, we had our luxurious breakfast, and it was a bread and a tea.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you guys deal with these things? I'm sorry for exposing you guys.
So on the topic of like whether you need a lot of money to travel, like, no. I mean, the goal of traveling is to see the world, right? It's not, for me, it's not about like staying in nice fancy places. And so you can, you know, what we're doing is like hitchhiking around, and we have a tent. Sometimes we camp in places. You don't have to do it like, you know, like that exactly. We do this also because like the adventure of it is fun, not necessarily always to like save money. But yeah, I mean, I think like there's hostels all around. They don't cost that much. You actually don't need that much money. I actually call this like coffee math. If you stop like buying like coffees every day, like these like small things like actually add up a lot.
Or rent.
But you need a place to live.
Yeah, like you need shelter over your head.
But you can also live in like a, you know, not as like big of a place. When I started earning more money, when I was living like in New York, I didn't necessarily upgrade my apartment.
Okay,
Because,
for
like,
this reason.
And not necessarily just like travel. Like honestly, travel made me like more minimalist in like my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not like living in a shack, but like I have, you know, like
It's just okay.
Yeah, I just need to like, I don't need any like big fancy place or anything like that. And what happens just over time with like this is that you save a lot of money. And you don't try to impress people either with like, I don't need like new shoes and like stuff like that.
Oh my goodness, I'm so jealous. Okay, how about you, Khadija?
Yeah, I had this idea actually before that travel is so pricey. And I think this has changed when I came last time in Ethiopia, when I saw different travelers, how they travel. So you can save a lot of money through hitchhiking and staying with like couchsurfing, that application that people can host you. And you can also save it for when you go for cheap hostels. Not bad hostels, we're not saying that non-clean hostels, I'm saying that basic one. And also, there are always ways to reduce the expenses while you're traveling. Depends on what you want from traveling. Because if it's a vacation, if I'm working as full-time job and I want to travel just 2 weeks or something, I will not do this much activities because it's physically and mentally also exhausting with the time. But if I want to do it consistent and I want to do it for a long time, there are always ways to reduce the expenses. And talking with a camera, just you want decent phone, and that's it.
I think you said that sometimes people consider this as something very crazy because it's abnormal. Like usually normal people don't do this. But the truth is, it's how we perceive it, right? At the end of the day, how we understand craziness or how we understand what normal people do and abnormal people do.
Yeah, because people, they said, okay, save your money and do it for nice things. Okay, this is what this is my money.
Nice thing is.
Yeah, and this is what I want to do. This is what I want to explore.
To track before we find food again.
This uphill now is killing me. Yeah.
After this all up.
We have to cross this river.
I feel like there's a risk traveling to different places, especially in Africa, where you can move around. One, because you're a woman, you know, people have this way of seeing things that women should not do. And there's a risk of your things getting stolen, and you know, because there's a huge difference from where we are, from where you guys came in, the culture that we have here. So, have you guys ever came across such kind of challenge? she came across.
You can definitely lose stuff, but stuff is stuff, you know. So it's
You just let go.
at the end of you just have to let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do also learn like memories are harder to get back, so like back your stuff up.
Oh, and also back the things that you just backed.
This is true. We have two friends. They doing the same trip from Egypt to Cape Town, but cycling, and they actually their footage they back up on a hard disk and another hard disk, send it back home, because they know by the time that you're gonna go to South Africa, you're gonna be stolen.
Okay, so it's just like it's good to have a plan C, D, E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that stuff you can't really get back. But like, you know, again, you don't need the expensive cameras, so don't spend the money you don't have on these things that you don't need, because then when you lose stuff that you didn't have the money to buy, then you know it's harder.
Yeah.
So
How about the challenge that you faced as a woman?
as a woman, yeah. I mean, this is definitely like a challenge. I mean, sometimes I'm just like, oh, I wish I was a man. Because there's different expectations, especially when you, like, I traveled a lot in like Islamic countries. And so like you have to like adjust to that. So it can be annoying, but you know, like definitely it's not something that I've considered like a blocker to doing what I do at all. And there's also a lot of people that like are really kind because they see that you're a woman alone. They're almost just like, oh my God, are you okay? We'll take care of you.
Sometimes it's advantage.
There's a lot of that.
actually.
Because no one's intimidated by me. So everyone's like willing to help. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you show up and you don't know what's happening. Yeah. Everybody's willing to help because they're not like intimidated or afraid.
Yeah.
Certainly with like hitchhiking, people will stop. But the flip side of the coin is that you feel more vulnerable.
Yeah, definitely.
And so there's things you can do though to make sure that you don't end up in like a bad situation, like, you know, not like going out late and then
Traveling with someone or hitchhiking.
not, like, drinking when you're alone.
But I guess it's just like sometimes you can't actually prevent it, but there might be a slight chance that things might still go wrong. So you have to get yourself ready.
There is a chance. Yeah, always there is a chance something can go wrong.
So now let's come to how you guys met.
We met in Sudan through a mutual friend who hitchhikes, is an Indian hitchhiker, and then I traveled in before. She ended up traveling. This travel community is like
So small.
Yeah, it's small. Then when the war broke out, we like fled together.
Oh, okay. So the war broke out when you guys were in Sudan. And you guys met there.
Yeah.
So now it's not only traveling; it's about keeping yourself alive.
This is true. Yeah. That's what makes us stuck together, so we can survive.
Now we're still stuck together.
How did you guys handle such kind of moment? Like, it's tough because you were just traveling, you're trying to explore, you have traveled before, and then boom, a war broke out, and now you just have to change your whole plans into something different. So, how was that?
Yeah, that was really hard for everybody in Khartoum. Having locals that we were friends with was like super helpful. Yeah, so like everyone I remember was messaging me like, oh, are you okay? And like, you know, and everyone just had to like shelter in place. There wasn't really a whole lot you could do except just see what was going to happen. And I guess like hope for the best. For me, like we lost like power and water, and it's so hot there. Yes. And we were like right near like the area of fighting. Thank goodness, like I was outside of the area though, so I could leave. So I was just thankful that I was outside of like the area right around the airport where like the bombing was happening, and that was just chaos.
Yeah, so I can't even imagine. How about you though?
I can say that I'm so lucky, as she said, that we were far from the point that there is fighting that makes us can flee easily and be here.
I guess the most hardest thing about such kind of moments is that one, it's unexpected.
Yeah.
And two, you're not certain about what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So you're just like confused. You're just trying to figure out things, but you can't because
I can say that first 3 days I was like, oh, there is nothing there. because this has happened the last 10 days of Ramadan. And after last day in Muslim countries or Islam, there is Ramadan and then Eid celebration. So last 10 days and then people, they celebrate. So I said, okay, maximum, they will not let us celebrate like this. It was like, has this denial of, this is not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's just gonna be.
Just some fighting and it's
some fighting.
Everyone reacts differently.
You can see, you can say your reaction. Yeah.
What was your reaction though?
My reaction? Well, okay, you know what? I did always want to be a journalist. So part of me was just like, okay,
you know what? You
take this on.
You have that look of journalist, by the way. Yes, right?
Really?
Like I can actually see you being a journalist, you know.
So like we couldn't really do anything. So it was just like, okay, I can be the stand-in journalist for now. Just reporting on what's happening. Because like from my rooftop, I could see I was right near the fighting.
So now, before us moving to the next question, how did you guys survive that moment, and how did you guys came to Ethiopia?
We hitchhiked out, which thankfully we already knew how to hitchhike. So actually traveling, I think, like kind of gave us some of like the confidence to deal with the uncertainty and everything that was happening. And we ended up hitchhiking out and then fleeing through Matema at the border.
Yeah, the border with Ethiopia. Yeah, hitchhiking is we stop cars, just ask them to take us with them. Yeah. So we usually, when we travel in this way, so that helps us that we can do the same way out of Khartoum. And this helps a lot. It was a long journey to Matema because you have to hitchhike long distance. And then, we come from Matema, Gondar here. Yeah.
Wow. I guess it's so beautiful because at the same time, so scary. But I guess once it's over, you'd be like, wow, we just did that, right?
And people adapt. Trust me, people adapt. I mean, we will not be like more brave than people they live there in the war. So people, they will always find a way to survive. So yeah, it's scary, but in this moment, I think my friends and my family was scared more than me because I have to adapt. So I have to be calm
to survive.
You don't have time to be afraid. You just gotta go.
You don't have time to be scared.
Exactly.
I get that on a t-shirt, in fact. So, as you guys traveled, obviously you guys came across to different cultures and different foods and different language. In fact, language is going to be one of the barriers because you can't communicate as freely as you want to with the local people. So what is the most unforgettable moments that you guys came across because of this difference of culture? Let's talk about that.
We could talk about Chancho. We hitchhiked through Chancho here. Okay. And then we were like, let's camp outside of this church. It looks very green. And then, a man comes up and he's clearly telling us like, no, but we're trying to say like what we're trying to do. Like, is it okay? But he doesn't speak any English, but also like he doesn't read or write. So Google Translate was useless. So we were like, oh, I was like, shit, my God, I've never really been in a situation where Google Translate couldn't like at least help a bit.
And actually sometimes the reaction doesn't give you the exact thing that he's saying, because we felt at the beginning that he wants to kick us out, and actually he wasn't. So sometimes, and also this happens when I speak in Arabic, and sometimes she said like, oh, this is so aggressive, and like we were just chatting, me and my friend. So it's sometimes the reaction doesn't give you the exact things.
The fact that you guys were together made it a bit easier, right? Finish the story, please.
Yeah, so then we were like, well, what do we do? So we just started calling people. And actually, our first ride that we hitchhiked with out of Adash has been so nice. He still checks on us to this day. I gotta call him back. We like called him, we need help like translating. And then he was like talking with him, and then he told us that actually they were like, we have a room in the church for people, like guests. And then so this like group of people came, and then they brought us into this room, and then they gave us injera, and then they gave us a room to stay in. We're like,
injera and gorsha, they eat and they feed us.
1,500 meters to get to this thing. Why is it so dangerous? Well, the climb is near vertical. It's called Abuna Yamata, and it was built in the 6th century. And to this day, villagers climb up here to worship. This is the baptism cave, and above is the pathway that leads to the church. The priest has been serving here for 8 years. Would you climb up here every day to worship?
One of the things that I would really love to ask you guys is, like when it comes to traveling, as I've said earlier, we have this wrong image, and then we have this way that we are raised, so that you have to leave all those things behind and you have to start fresh, and you have to be ready for anything, so that you could cope up. And after your experience in Sudan, like weren't you guys, you know what, I'm done. I had a good time traveling so far, but now I just need to have a settled life. Like weren't you guys exhausted, especially after that experience?
I was exhausted, and I did want like some time to rest, but there wasn't a part of me that wanted to like settle per se. I did want like, you know, maybe like a couple of weeks to just like have, you know, time to edit or just sit in like one place, where it's not constantly moving around. But I definitely am somewhat like addicted to like,
And you'd be like, you know what, it's okay, I'll just do it. Right?
Yeah. I wasn't exhausted to the point that I said no. Because, traveling is fulfilling a lot of things to me, like moving and culture. So it's hard, even if it's... Because also war, it's really... it's something bad. But it's really something I am grateful and I am lucky that I have been there. It's a human experience. And this makes me connected with people more. Even if it's bad that it happened. So it's part of the experience. Like I'm traveling in Africa. It's not in Europe. So, like, what would I expect?
So, what is the whole point of you guys traveling through Africa? Because I saw it in your bio. It's like you want to travel through Africa, and you're like 15 down, right? And so, what's the whole goal, the whole point of you guys traveling through Africa?
Yes, again, I'm from this continent.
Yes, I know.
I wanna understand more about, because you know when you hear about people they're traveling in Africa, usually they come from Europe or another like continent and see like what's happening there. And this is yes, and this is not just from now. Even like anthropology, people they working in anthropology, it started like this. People coming from Europe to see who's those guys, what they're doing. They have really rich resources. What they're doing with it. Let's help them to use it, and something like this. So I feel so like jealous, and this is part of me. Like I can relate with everything is happening here. Guys, I have the right to do this because I'm not coming from the point that above. I'm here.
You're actually in there.
Yes, because we share some similar issues.
A lot of things, in fact,
a lot of things. So when I come back and do some impact through research or something, this is what I want to do. If you said ultimate goal,
How about you, though?
I mean, I'm Indian American, but I feel like connected to this continent because it like gave me my start for traveling. So like I always like end up back here. And you know, some of my most difficult travel experiences have been in Africa, but like some of the best have been here. And I think it's definitely like more rewarding to be able to share those experiences about a lot of the countries here because they tend to be less traveled. And you know, wanting to travel around the whole continent. I looked at a map and then, and I guess I do have this feeling when I look at a lot of places, I'm like, what's there? And so for me, like, there's just like an overwhelming curiosity. And a lot of the places here definitely tend to be like the least explored.
So beautiful. And imagine it's bad fact because Egyptian people, they thought that you have desert. Like they don't have that, we have desert. So I'm saying that it's underrated to this point that they don't know what's there. When I posted about Ethiopian, they said, oh, now Ethiopia is on our list. I feel like, you don't know that Ethiopian like this? Okay, good for you.
But I just feel like, you know, some of the things that we have about our like African countries, including Ethiopia, is like, it's done on purpose, like deliberately for us not to know each other, because we will even though it's much expensive to travel through Africa, right?
It is.
So we just tend to choose to travel through Europe or North America or somewhere else than Africa, because we just don't feel like there's nothing to see. But the truth is, when you actually go there and travel, there is a lot of things that you can learn and you can understand. And the more you get to understand people, the more you see something in yourself.
And you understand yourself, you expand.
Expand and express yourself in a much different way. So, I had a very good time staying with you guys. You guys actually motivated me to travel. Not outside of Ethiopia, but just, you know, some places, right? You should like travel outside of Ethiopia.
There are a lot of places to see in Ethiopia.
Definitely. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's motivated. Our audiences watching this show are also be like, you know what? I should take some time to travel and explore. So thank you so much for your time and for staying with me and having this wild conversation, in fact. So let me give you guys the chance, if you would love to thank those people that helped you to through your traveling journey, and also any advices or any things that you would love to say to our audiences about traveling. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I want to pray for Sudan first, because this is big chunk of our traveling this in Africa. So, and I want to thank every Sudanese we've met, because they were so generous for us and they don't deserve what's happening now. This is first. And second, actually, when you bring up the first one that we hitchhike with, Baki, I want to thank him, because he's checking on us like every day when we were traveling, until he knew that we're safe. And he was always there, and we just barely knew each other. So yeah, I want to thank him so much. And yeah, any other traveler we shared good moments, I want to thank them, because they make our traveling so good. Yeah.
I mean, when you are hitchhiking around, you rely on like the kindness of strangers. And so thank you to all the strangers that like picked us up and then took us and made sure that we were like safe, and then people that hosted us too and like gave us such a warm welcome everywhere. Like it just, I don't know, it like warms my heart and just gives me like so much faith in like humanity. And for people that want to travel, like know that most of the world is kind. Most of the world is kind. Yeah, like people aren't out to get you. We always hear about that, like the story where things went wrong, and that sticks in our minds, because that's like just how the human brain works. And then you think of that and you fear the thing. But there's so many times when everything goes well, and it's those like meaningful connections that like mean so much, like with all the people that we've met traveling that have helped us. And
again, luck comes with brave hearts. Just
go there and do it.
Yeah, just do this and mean it, and everything will just sort it out.
Have the confidence in yourself to know that like you can figure it out.
You always can figure it out.
And also not to forget that the way we perceive things really matters, because definitely as traveling, there's going to be a lot of challenge, and there might be moments that you'll be like, oh my goodness, this is going to be the end. But you always just keep on hoping that it would get better. So it's at the end of the day, it's how you see things that makes it good or bad.
Yeah, hoping and perseverance. Do things in this discipline that we were talking about. Do things, and
she loves discipline,
because I want to.
Searching for it.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Our beloved audiences, so this was the staying that we had with those two beautiful, energetic young ladies. For sure you guys have loved our staying and got a new ways to figure out how you guys gonna do your next traveling if you've never traveled. So thank you guys for choosing Arts TV, and you can also watch this show on our YouTube channel, Arts TV World. And yeah, comment what you guys think about what we had today, the conversations, right?
Right.
And I wish you guys the best luck. And thank you so much for motivating me.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And yeah, see you next week. Till then, goodbye. Goodbye.